Truth is, I thought it mattered. I thought that
money
mattered. But does it bollocks? Not compared to how people matter.
Welcome, mention and other fine folks, to the Someday Dispatch of the Black Letter, where we contemplate thoughts worth thinking as we try to navigate through the upside-down, topsy-turvy world we find ourselves in, seeking greener pastures on the other side, hopefully coming out healthier, wealthier, and wiser. And in order to do that, we need to make sense of the nonsensical. There's a lot of nonsense out there, especially with the stock market and the economy and everything else, and some hopium and mirage and mirrors available. So today we're going to take a look at the jobless claims just briefly, as you can see up here on the screen, much better than expected. Take a look at central bank digital coins as well. We've got more bullish news for silver, and also taking a look at the coronavirus stimulus chit-chat, which is nothing but more smoke and mirrors in my opinion. I think nothing will happen this week, which is what needs to happen in order for it to pass before the election, in my opinion. None of this is financial advice, just giving you my thoughts to digest. So let's take a look. Let's have a quick look here at the weekly jobless claims, total 787,000. So that is terrific. Good news. They had expected 878,000, and it was almost 900,000 last week, I believe. Anyway, dropped by almost 100,000. So that's over 10%, say, call 12, 13%. So there is some good news, but I think we'll probably start seeing that be maintained and perhaps even increasing as the months go by, and especially into next year. Especially, we're going to start seeing real bankruptcies happening after the companies that can't survive or relying on Christmas perhaps can't manage through it, because I'm not sure Christmas will be as, or holiday shopping will be as bountiful as maybe many retailers are hoping for. Banks and the digital dollar. Sooner than you realize, paper money will be replaced by a digital US dollar. This is the central bank digital coin, of course, we're talking about here. Governments, including the US government, will be mandating the exchange of all paper money for its digital upgrade. A lot of pros and cons to this. I think probably this is going to be coming out probably towards the end of the next 5 years, so around 2025 or so, I would imagine, certainly by the end of the decade. But I think probably mid-decade is likely, and of course there's many benefits to this, but also some concerns. Hopefully the Supreme Court will be on this in the Western democracies to determine that our privacy still needs to be protected, because this gives the Big Brother a great insight into being able to track all purchases from everyone, of course. Anyway, let's have a read here. Within 7 or 10 years, paper money will be history and not legal tender anymore. I could see that happening, but I think, as I said, we will have a digital currency probably in most world economies well before then, probably by mid-decade. Right now, the main way that the government prints money is to buy bonds in the open market and hope that banks will lend the money. The lent money is the increase in the money supply. The system has contributed to the wealth gap, and it has also led to a lot of leverage in the system. The Fed really can't make the banks lend under the current system. The digital dollar can cure some of these issues because the government, if it's smart, will retain the right to manufacture digital dollars, thus bypassing the banks. And so, of course, as many folks have said, Anthony Pompliano amongst them, short the banks and long Bitcoin. I think that's probably going to be the thesis of the decade, honestly. The Feds are sick of trying to make the banks lend then, regulating them because they are over-levered. It's a faulty system, and it is likely to be replaced by digitally created money supply, which can then be sent out to the people directly. And of course, probably from this we get some sort of UBI. I think that's likely inevitable as well, and certainly needed right now. And of course, with governments involved, it's going to be years yet. This will enable universal basic income, as I mentioned, models to proliferate, and it will finally be easy enough for the government to make inflation go higher when they want. With the digital dollar, everything will be traced and tax evasion will drop substantially, giving the government more power over the money supply. Disintermediating the banks, as mentioned earlier, will eventually be very inflationary. And of course, this is why I think Bitcoin is going to win in this scenario as well. Not only will people become more used to using a digital currency, which is basically what Bitcoin is in some degree on the blockchain, can only be used digitally. There's no notes or coins attached to it, obviously. And of course, once folks are used to using their central banks and digital coins, I think Bitcoin will become much more viable as well. And of course, it's increasing lately, as we've seen. Good news out of PayPal, now allowing its users to buy, sell, and hold Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I think, I'm not sure which ones, but certainly Bitcoin. So good news there as well. The government will try to inflate away the massive debt obligations, and they are likely to be successful. In 10 or 15 years, we will see massive inflation on the order of the 1970s or even worse. And I'm starting to wonder about this. I'm not certain. I think we will see inflation to some degree, but I think if we move towards a central bank digital coin, and with technology being a deflationary sort of process, I'm not sure how much high inflation we'll get. But that remains to be seen. Of course, all this is speculation. I think there's probably a 50% chance we get high inflation and 50% chance we don't. All depends, regardless of deflation or inflation. I think Bitcoin's going to be the winner. Gold usually does well during deflation and inflation as well. But I think Bitcoin will be the big winner here. Senate Democrats block a GOP's $500 billion coronavirus aid bill as Pelosi munition talks continue. Of course, apparently they're continuing today at the sort of 11th hour. Senate Democrats block a $500 billion GOP coronavirus relief bill as Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin continue talks towards a comprehensive deal. While the sides are citing progress in the bipartisan talks, it still looks unlikely that they can reach an agreement capable of passing both chambers of Congress before the 2020 election. Yes, looking very slim, and slim to none, and as they say, slim has left the building, right? The Senate GOP bill includes more PPP funds, a $300 per week supplemental unemployment insurance benefit, and liability protections for businesses. It does not include another round of direct payments to people. So that's from the Grand Old Party, the Republicans, who are disinterested in helping the common person as much as the Democrats are. The GOP tried to advance its bill similar to the one Democrats opposed last month, and the measure failed in a 51-44 party line vote, and that's not surprising. Republicans in Congress argue Democrats have reached for an expensive wish list filled with many provisions unrelated to the crisis, and I think that's stretching a little bit. I don't know if there's anything that's really outside of the or unrelated to the crisis currently, but that's what they're saying. Democrats, meanwhile, accuse the GOP of failing to recognize the magnitude of the economic and health crisis gripping the country, and that's sort of more along my alignment of the view of things currently. So you can have a read of the rest of the article if you like. Every step the White House takes towards Democrats' position risks losing more Senate Republican support in a potential vote. It appears unlikely a bipartisan agreement would get the 13 Senate GOP votes needed to overcome a filibuster. And of course, so there you have it, folks. This is looking less and less likely until probably the new year. If the Democrats win, of course, they won't be able to do anything until the new year unless the Republicans come to some sort of arrangement with them, which is unlikely if they've lost the Senate and the presidency. And of course, if the outcome remains the same, which is likely, I don't see the Republicans gain in the House at all. So what we're left with is, still more of this shenanigans. We'll have to see what happens. Hopefully things will work out well. A lot of folks are needing some help right now. Silver shines, says Citi, tipping a 60% price rise for starters. Silver has been a graveyard for investors since the Hunt brothers tried to corner the market for poor man's gold 40 years ago. So when a big-name investment bank earlier this week forecast a 60% rise in the silver price, most investors yawned, and that was Citi in an advisory note with a tip that the price of the metal will rise to $40 an ounce over the next 12 months. I think that's very doable, perhaps even conservative. Citi's case for silver is based on growing demand from investors who see silver as a cheap entry point into the world of precious metals. But the bank doesn't stop at a 605% silver rally. It also argues that there is a technical case for silver doubling to 50 ounces and potentially rising fourfold to 100 ounces. I'm not sure how they get a 605% rally. That's a 6 times increase. It certainly doesn't get you there from today's price to $40, certainly. And over here they're talking about 38% from 18 ounce to 24. So this is probably a mistake. The bear case of Citi is not particularly punishing, with the silver price retreating to around $20 an ounce. So there you go. I think silver is probably a reasonable investment at this price, although I'm still expecting perhaps a bit of a drawback towards below $20, maybe 18 or so, as we've said, but that might never come to fruition. Nevertheless, I'm happy with the silver I have currently. If it does dip down there, I might consider buying more, although currently I think Bitcoin has the better opportunities. That's where most of my savings are going that I can access. Okay, let's take a look at the markets. Okay, so looking a little bit red this morning, so we'll see what happens there. It's a little bit surprising because of some of the articles that we saw here at CNBC, especially the weekly jobless numbers coming in very good. I would have thought that we would start seeing some green on the board, but apparently not. So we'll have to see what happens at the end of the day. Okay, gold still doing nothing much interesting or exciting at around 1900, 1905, sort of just hanging around, hitting a little bit of, resistance here, perhaps forming a bit of a triangular pattern, a bullish triangular wedge maybe, or triangle I should say. We'll see what happens. And pretty much the same with silver, though it's reaching up, sort of starting to slowly increase, it looks like here from the chart. We'll see what happens. That could be sort of a rising wedge of some sort, I imagine. We'll see at around 24.65 or so. So a little bit of a move up, but continues to sort of more consolidate than anything else. I wanted to share with you now 3 of my last core debit spreads that I have open at the moment. I was able to close one earlier this week for full profit, which was nice. I've got Apple and Microsoft remaining, so let's take a look at those. Here you can see this is Apple, and the green line here is where my short strike is, so it has to be above that in order for it to be a full winner. And currently it's not looking so good. I don't have live quotes, so this is from yesterday. We'll see how it opens this morning, but hopefully that'll improve. I'm running out of runway, of course. I have 2 days left. It expires tomorrow. And here's Microsoft, and you can't see the green price level, but here it is at 210 on 38.2% Fibonacci retracement level. So this one, if it holds good, hopefully it will close today automatically for full profit. That'll be terrific. And then the one that closed earlier this week was WDAY, Workday, as you can see here, and I think it closed Monday or probably Tuesday, and it was quite well above that short strike. So good news so far. If Apple and Microsoft close, I'll be at around a 65% win rate so far out of 20 debit spreads I've taken. So far it's going reasonably well, but I'll keep you posted on that. Okay, some good movement here in the cryptocurrency market cap, up 4.5% over the last 24 hours, $397 billion market cap. So we're coming up on 400 billion, which is terrific. And with that come all the cockroach coins, 5,986 cockroach coins available for your purchase in pleasure. And here, of course, Bitcoin done very well, probably on the news of PayPal, although we had suspected that sort of weeks ago, but I guess the official statement helped buoy the price. It's inching towards 13,000 here, which is good news. Ethereum also coming up as well, now over $400, looking at 410. XRP making some subtle moves, pretty much good across the whole bunch of the first top 10 coins here, 9.5% on Chainlink, which is terrific. Polkadot up 6%, Litecoin almost 10%, Cardano 4.5%. So some really good movement over here. Stellar 3.3%, not doing as well, bit of a laggard. We'll see what happens with Stellar over time. And some of the other lower coins not doing as well. IOTA up almost 5%, and Uniswap back up around 3%. So we'll see if that holds. All right, on to the original online. Okay, so now let's take a look at the online oracle, our 8-ball economist, our trusty sidekick for today's most pressing question. So we were talking earlier about the central bank digital coins and how I think that they're probably coming out probably by mid-decade here. So I thought the question for our trusty sidekick, will Western democracies have CBDCs by 2025? I think there's a good chance of that. Let's see. Most likely. Okay, so that's good news. We'll see what happens. Well, good news for some, bad news for others. I think it's beneficial for bypassing the banks, because the banks obviously aren't lending, and the Fed is just printing money that goes to the banks in the hopes that they lend them. And of course, that's not happening. It's bifurcating the culture and the distance between those that have and those that have not. So if we can just print money directly into people's CBDC wallet apps, then that's the best way to have access and disseminate money to help folks in dire needs. Of course, right now that's not going to help, but hopefully in the future this will be the outcome. And in the meantime, regardless, I think Bitcoin's going to continue to do well under these environments. So thanks so much for joining me, folks. Hope you're having a wonderful rest of the week as we come around the corner here onto Friday and through another week here in the difficult environment we find ourselves in. But things will continue to improve. Some good news on the job front there, but I think we're not out of the woods yet. So hold tight, pay down debt, and squirrel away savings as best you can. And remember, above all else, dum spiro, spero.